Good morning and welcome to Daily Game Design. Actually, there's on. I'll show you a picture of the scene I was greeted with as I was prepping for games. I was heading to my car to prep for games yesterday, and then I found. Don't tell me we're having connection problems already. No. Then I found this situation. So you can see the broken. Well, maybe it'll clear up in a second, but looks like somebody hit my mirror here. It was interesting because it was actually it was pushed inward and also smashed and hanging. So I don't know what they did. They just hit it and then hit it back or something. And then this is from inside my car. So I literally walked up, got in my car, not seeing anything, not noticing anything, and then looked up and I thought that doesn't look right. So anyway, that's going to be out of pocket on Monday. I'm going to go in and get my windshield replaced. I've actually replaced my windshield one other time since being here with my car. And in that case, what I did was I slid my surfboard. I was putting it inside. I don't think I may not have. I don't remember why. Sometimes I would put it on top of my car. Sometimes I would put it inside. So I slid my surfboard up, and it goes past the front seat. It's a longboard. And for some reason that day, I had it flipped so that the top of the board was up. Normally it's flipped down and the fin is up. But anyway, the shape of it's kind of like a banana, and it doesn't fit as well that way. So it was like up against the windshield, and I shut my trunk. Yikes. So I shut my trunk, and it was just the exact right length so that it put pressure on the tail of the board, and the nose just like then it sent pressure up to it was touching the windshield. Apparently I didn't realize that, and so it actually just levered and just popped the windshield, so there was like a spider web on the windshield. Well, this is very different, but anyway, I have done it once already. Don't know what happened or why. Don't know what this was really about. The closest thing I have to a guess that's anything other than just like a random person who's maybe on meth or something going by and having fun. The only thing I can think is maybe I parked too close to the truck behind me. I don't think I did, but maybe I did. Not sure. And yeah, so that's it. Somebody could be superheated, got annoyed. They were trying to, it was harder to get his truck out than it needed to be or whatever. I don't know. I think most people would figure that out, not have a problem. Actually, I would have guessed that if somebody was really upset about parking, that I would have had damage to the rear end of my car. It was a big truck behind me, so they would have figured out a way to get out. Anyway, so that's happening. It just added an extra step. Kept me from going to Costco yesterday. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And yeah, it's looking like the connection's not super stable right now. And then let's see, other stuff. So I sent an email yesterday. We are exactly 2 months away from the retreat. And I feel good. I feel like we have good momentum this time. I feel like we have good people working on interesting things. So that's cool. But it's still a lot of work. We did announce that we're changing the Valentine's event, simplifying it, making it just an open dry bar, like speakeasy setting. people will come. We'll do potluck. They'll bring games. We'll do a couple group activities probably. Actually, I just remembered a game called Darling If You Love Me. I think we just called it Darling If You Love Me. And suddenly I'm thinking this is probably not a great idea for that group. But the game is yeah, I'm a little sad that the connection's so bad right now. But the game is where you're in a circle, there's somebody who's stuck in the middle, there's one less seat than there are people, like in a lot of games. So somebody's stuck in the middle, and their task is to try to get into one of the chairs. The way to get into a chair is by going up, picking anybody in the circle, going up to them and saying, "Darling, if you love me, will you just smile?" And they say that 3 times, and they can do anything but touch the person. And so they can get up in their face, they can say it in a funny voice, they can do some other weird, shocking thing. The whole goal is to get that person to smile. So anyway, so it starts that way. So one person in the circle goes up to another. It sounds like I'm getting emails from my class. Okay. Thankfully nothing urgent for me. Okay, so once the first person has done that, they go up and they do their little routine. Darling, if you love me, will you just smile? And there's like a million variants of this game, I guess, or what you say and how many times you say it and whatever. So then, you the other person in this interaction then has to say, "Darling, I love you, but I just can't smile." They have to say that 3 times without smiling. If they smile, they get up. They're the ones in the middle. If they don't smile, that person who initiated with them, they have to go find somebody else. So it's a fun, really goofy game. I sent an email. Oh, we got a couple bounces. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to show anybody's personal information on here. But this is what I sent yesterday. Sent out some details about. Oh wait, this isn't. This is it. But okay, there are the photos. It's just taking a long time to load. Connection issues. That's crazy. So I attached some older photos of the weekends in the past. But yeah, just some details of what's coming. I am encouraging people to join our Facebook group. It's nice. It's nice to build something that's just for this little group, people really interested in coming out, enjoying the retreat. And then in the Discord, we may have had somebody joining. 5 crowns. Nice little game. Not sure who this is. It is kind of interesting. There are some people in the Discord I don't know very well, or they haven't changed their names, so I don't know who they are. Okay, anyway, a lot's going on. I wanted to run through. I actually took some notes from the playtest with Ronson yesterday. So Ronson's a very cool guy. He's the guy that we did the cacao farm, the cacao harvest with. He's been coming to Mondays for quite a while. He also is designing stuff. I don't know that he's actually prototyped a full game yet, but he thinks about these things a lot and kind of ruminates, ideates pretty deeply about things. And so he's also interesting to play with because he definitely has strong feelings about stuff. And he played once, and the game, the state of the game at that time was very different from this, and this is much better. At the same time, he still got frustrated about several things, and so I took some notes about that. And so it's a really interesting exercise to be sitting there with a person. Now we're side to side in this game, and it's just interesting to be sitting there, and then somebody's kind of getting steamed right next to me, and just getting irritated, a little irritable. Although he did save any pronouncements for the end. He finished the game. Actually, finished, was frustrated. We changed some things. We talked about some stuff for a little while, or kind of moved some things around. Then we talked for a while. And then, in my view, some of it was a familiarity problem. So just like, I think some of these feelings might go away, or like a lack of direction might disappear if we just play again. So we played again. We played twice. And it's a fairly snap game, which I liked. And I want to say in the second game, if the ending holds where if you end your turn with 7 or more trophies, you win the game, then I won toward the end of the second round, which is kind of crazy. I got both mayor cards that came up, and I also got two. I got 2 community projects. Ronson was working on something else, I guess, and he just kind of let me have those things, and that's already 4 trophies. And consider that you get trophies incidentally by working on other things. By working on upgrades, you get a trophy. By, improving your recall action and building up your little tower in Syrup Inc., you're going to get a trophy. So that's already 6. And then I think my last trophy from what was it? Upgrading get a trophy or 2 trophies. I think I only had 1. I had the Syrup Inc. trophy from close to the beginning, and then it was probably just having 4 cubes in the town hall. Anyway, one of the things he really highlighted in his experience was how frustrating the system for processing syrup was. So I should probably, I think I can just open Canva actually, because I have an idea for a card to change some things. Yeah, visually, like with some of the graphic design stuff, not exactly sure. Wow, really suffering with the connection today. Maybe it's because it's late morning. Okay, about almost half of the people that I sent emails to open them. That's cool. 92 cent, 2 bounce. I need to figure out what's going on here. But anyway, that's cool. Just excited to have things really moving forward with the retreats. I posted about our finances, showed that we have basically made no money in 3 years. I don't know. I wonder if it's like, if there's ever a thing about like my phone overheating, or if it's pretty warm, but it's not that warm. I don't know what's happening here. Okay, so I got these. I got a bunch of trophies by what's that? By the end, and I think some of that was Ronson was just not sure what to focus on, and like I know the main sources for the points, and that yeah. Hmm. I know how important it is to go for those mayor cards. And so he was kind of frustrated by that. He was frustrated that the mayor blocked stuff and is already like kind of messing with him. But his main frustration, I think, in the flow of the game was the Sugar Shack, the process for the Sugar Shack. So what I'm gonna try to do here is, wow, this is really old. Oh, it's this. I need to open this too. So one of the things I realized that we could try is um, it's to basically combine the Sugar Shack and this set of ideas right here. Combine the Sugar Shack and Garage, make a taps card. So rather than the separate the way it is right now is there is, I guess you might see it if we went to the sell sheet. Yeah, so hopefully this shows up as, yeah, the setup. So the process right now is that you have to send a worker down here to Sugarbush, and then that's the process. Okay, because what it used to be was when the round ended, both players would put out their meeples. At the end of the round, then there would be a cleanup phase, essentially. And during the cleanup, it's like in between rounds. Then what you would do is move your staff over. That any temporary staff, move your temporary staff over. No. Refill your workers, move your temporary staff over, move move cubes from your Sugar Shack to the garage, that's your bottling. Then move cubes from the Sugar Bush to the Sugar Shack. So there was all these steps. And when I got rid of the round, I think I should just ignore this whole. I'm just gonna forge ahead. I hate having this kind of weird weak connection. But do I want to spend money on Wi-Fi every month? I don't think so. But anyway, so you would go from you would refill, right? Drop meeples to fill these areas, these three spaces. Move move any meeples from here into here. Move these cubes from here over to the garage, and then move cubes from the Sugar Bush to the Sugar Shack. So you had to go through all of those steps. And it was a very weird, stuttering, kind of stop and start thing that wasn't smooth. And anyway, when I changed the round structure, and just made it a rolling thing where you basically recall your workers as an action. I wanted to cut down that little process, and I made it so that you had to send a worker to the sugar bush to send cubes to the sugar shack. So that you now suddenly, instead of all of your staff going up, into town, they also had to potentially come down and go to the sugar bush too, which I think is cool. Like, I think the idea is cool, but I agree with Ronson that the feelings are not great. Um, yeah, so it's just that you want to focus in town. At least this was his experience, and it's the same. I felt this, but because I'm used to the game, I didn't really carry it as much. I didn't see it as much of a problem. But for somebody who's trying to understand town, and then they realize that they're trying to make these cool big moves and haven't done anything to get cubes into their sugar shack, that that's painful. Because now they're out of cubes, they're out of workers, and now they're gonna have to burn workers to shouldn't that doesn't sound great, but they'll have to waste some kind of time to get to now fill in their sugar shack, and that doesn't feel very good. Yeah, so okay, so we brainstormed very briefly yesterday, and that's when this idea of coming, of combining, where is it? Combining the shack and garage came up. And so eliminating the separate card, eliminating changing this from being um, two cards like this to maybe something like this. Now suddenly I don't know how much space there is, but maybe there's enough. Because it really is just about managing the flow of syrup. That's why this is here, essentially. I mean, thematically, we need the sugar bush, we need the sugar shack, but we don't really need a garage. And that could be it could just be completely vestigial. Like, maybe it was never a great idea. It's just at one point it seemed to make sense to like load a truck and then and go into town with your stuff. But maybe we don't really need to think of it that way anymore. So what I want to try to do is brainstorm a card. I wonder what this is the most recent. So here's the new idea. So you have the sugar bush, and then you are every time you recall, you actually just gather cubes from the sugar bush. You gather some number of cubes. Okay. And what we were thinking was, if like you just get a constant flow, there's this constant slow drip of sap at first. So whenever you recalled your workers, you automatically get one sap, like one cube of sap. So rather than a two-step process, it's just a one-step process. So from here, I don't know why these have outlines. Yeah, I can actually just simulate it here on Canva. I wonder if there are some meeples I can grab. Okay. These are the only guys. Here's one. Yeah, because right now it's like this. Okay, and I'll set out some equals here. So go from a process, let's put a few cubes on the sugar bush. Okay, so let's say it's like this, and then I'll have a couple more cubes already in the process over here. Okay, so there are a couple sitting in here, and then there are also a couple in the garage. So this is the current process. Okay. Okay, so it's time to recall. So these jump back down here. And this goes over here. That's it. Because otherwise what you need to do is you need to send a worker over here to this side to fill this so that when you recall, you're ready. There are cubes in the sugar shack that you're ready to move into the garage. So that's the current system. If you don't have a worker, if you don't send a worker over here, and you don't have, yeah, if you haven't sent a worker over here and there's nothing to move, you don't get anything. So if you've been spending these cubes, you know, if you've spent the cubes from here and you didn't send a worker down here to collect more sap, like you're gonna have to, it's gonna feel like a bad round the next round, and that's not cool. And I think what was happening is Ronson was feeling so good about going out and figuring out town that he wasn't thinking about, you know, making sure you got to get sap, dude. You need to make sure you got sap. So, so yeah. So to make sure, well, so first of all, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Why? Because the game is called Sugar Shack. You should care about managing your syrup. So I think on one level, I think we can justify that friction, right? The problem of, okay, yeah, you want to do cool stuff in town, but you got to make sure you got syrup to work with. So don't forget about coming down to the sugar bush and getting cubes. So I think that's justifiable thematically, but is it, well, I'm going to test this other idea. Is it appropriate to abandon more theme so that the player has a smoother experience? Probably, right? And I don't know that I'm abandoning more theme, but to allow somebody to essentially take their attention off of the syrup making process and instead focus on town, that's a little sad. Maybe. But okay, this is what the new process would look like. So let's say that now the garage is basically gone. Okay, and instead, actually, what can I do here? So just think of these cards as combined. Okay, basically. And so every time you recall, yeah, they're just like literally combined. Like it is now, those two cards have become one. Praise the Lord. So you think about this little process here. Francisco. Okay, yeah, I don't know how that works, but thanks for trying. I don't know if it's like settings or I just don't have, maybe I'm too small or something. I'm too much of a risk for Twitch. It looks like you I can see it listed where it's like you were raiding with a party of 6. So I don't know what happened there. Well, thanks for trying. That's cool. I've never had that happen before, as in nobody's ever tried. So yeah, that seems like a neat idea. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool to see your process there. You know what I realized with all the people I follow, I never went through and like turned on notifications. So when I saw that you were streaming from Facebook, I saw you were streaming, and so then I joined your stream on Facebook for a little bit, and then I switched to Twitch, and then I checked your account or profile on Twitch, and then found that I hadn't ever turned on my notifications for you. So that's what was happening there. What I just realized is I could just crop these cards, actually. So that's cool. So kind of look like one card. They don't, I guess they don't have to, but. So now these cards are just combined like this. And what would happen next is there'd be another something, maybe. Cool. Thanks for hanging out. I feel like you've like internalized like Twitch culture. There's a lot of little stuff you do that I don't think about or don't know about. Like lurking is one of those things. Okay, so the process will become there's something, let's say there's something tucked. Let me grab, I guess I can grab any card. Maybe I can even grab this one. Yeah. Flip it. So now this card would sit underneath, I think. It'd be something like this. Yeah, so whenever you recall, rather than moving let me put some cubes down here. So rather than moving cubes from the rather than a recall meaning to move cubes from the sugar shack to the garage, instead what it means is moving, like your staff are all coming back and they're going out to tap really quick, something like that. So at the start of the game, you would get an automatic, the cubes, whenever you recall, they come automatically from the sugar bush into the sugar shack now. And maybe at the start of the game, it is, you always receive 2. You receive 2 for free, and you can pay for a third, right? One of the thoughts was, if you send somebody down here when you recall, then you could get a third for free. What's tricky here is I feel like I'm adding a lot of weird little rules that I don't love. And there were already lots of rules to teach in town, right, with all these cards. Like, what do all these buildings do? And also, where did you go? Yeah, so here's town. And town, each card has its own little way to interact and things. It has things you need to care about in different ways. So already this is like a problem to figure out how to teach. So I need this system to be super, super simple. So what I'm thinking is, no, I guess maybe a worker would be too much. So yeah, my initial thought was, if you're recalling and automatically getting 2, if you were to place a worker down there, then you recall, you get 3. That's one option. Another option is if you recall and there's no worker there, but you still want another cube, you could pay 3. Okay, let me try again. There's no worker there. It's a normal recall action. So you get your workers back from town. You gain 2 cubes automatically. If you want, you could pay 3 money to gain 3 cubes. However, if there was a worker down there when you recalled, then when you move cubes, you automatically gain 3 cubes. So essentially you get that 3rd cube for free. It's not free because you placed a worker. But anyway, and then when you upgrade, then you would gain 1 more cube. So what that would look like, it could actually just be a tucked card. So like, how do I... So this is coming over. You know what? This actually sounds and feels really good just to combine these things because there wasn't a great reason they were separate. Not exactly, I don't think. Well, let me see what it... Yeah, let me see. Because there's so much space here now, right? So this is gone. Let me do this. This is now gone. This should come over. Is it a connection problem? Hello, hello? Try again. Bring all this stuff. Okay, here it is. It did come in twice, which is slow. Okay, so then, so now this basically, yeah, this is gonna move over. What is it capturing there? Yeah. Okay, this is gone. So the staff still need an area coming off the side here because there is still, that's still a thing. So this would be here. Something like that. And then now there's no evaporator. You just kind of assume yeah, so in this case, evaporation just disappears, right? It's just kind of gone from the game. And so it's kind of just like, it's all a little bit of a magical process that happens in the Sugar Shack. It's just cool. Like, now you've got syrup. Yay. Which I don't love, but if it improves the game that much, it's probably worth it, right? Don't love it, but maybe it's worth it. This I need to figure out how to communicate differently now. I also need a new type of card. Let me grab this. Okay, so this would be B. It is just taking a while. What I realize is this is probably still important to have. group these, be easier. Okay, so this is, I don't know if I need this, but anyway, maybe I do. So this can be over here. I don't know what this middle area could be used for right now, because maybe that's just maybe I just shrink the Sugar Shack. So it's less prominent, but maybe there's no need to have, yeah, like maybe there's no need to, yeah, it'll be like the other buildings. So like I have the, yeah, close to B Market, like I just shrunk the market down. It takes up less space. So it's a little easier to process like what the contents of the card is. Are. So I think it might be okay. It's a little sad to do this, but just to shrink down the Sugar Shack. So the things that you really care about are over here and over here. Fill, I don't know where I could put this fill idea. Yeah, so I guess I could just copy this one instead. Because the main difference between, whoa, uh, how do I keep deleting the one I don't mean to delete? So the main difference between, um, yeah, between the A side of the garage, the B side of the garage was just that you gain barrels. So I can just delete these guys. Okay, when they flip it, this is a B now. When they flip it, they gain barrels. That's the main difference here. Actually, I like that. I think that really does smooth things out a little bit. It could be a little bit awkward because you've got the staff. You may have staff sitting over here, but just flip the card and just move the staff off and on again. I guess that's not a big deal. Okay, so now the card I want to make for this other, like the other version of, let me show you the hardware store. So this is going away. This upgrade is going away, but it's now the barrel upgrade. So I'll just shift this over. Right, it's effectively exactly the same upgrade. But it just looks different now. It looks different just because it's now the Sugar Shack flipping to give you barrels. Okay, what this new card is going to be is a card that gets tucked under the sugar bush. Actually, this solves another problem, which I'm very excited about. There's this weird step to like, you had to take. By the way, that was the only portrait card in the game, so I'm actually kind of glad to get rid of it. Though it would be maybe good to just have another card around that shows this. Yikes. There might be a little more design space just opening up, and I don't know if I want to spend too much time thinking about it. Well, so who's here? So hit the road, portrait card. So I got Francisco. Did your raid actually work, Francisco? Because it looks like there are some more people hanging out than usual, which is nice. That's good. Okay, another thing I realized is that the cost and the process, the way I show things, is really not effective. I need to figure this out. Like just the way, yeah, how to communicate costs and what happens to cubes and all that. It feels like lots of little rules to remember, and it really shouldn't feel like that. Because there are just a few things that happen. I'm not sure, maybe it did. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like it, but this is a quiet group. Yeah, not for you. You're having a nice time hanging out with everybody. Okay, so what's nice is this is gone now, because this was an odd, just a kind of annoying little physical thing where you had to just take the meeples off if they were sitting on there. And anyway, now this is not the case. Now what's going to happen is there'll be a card that gets tucked, and it should show. It'll basically be like the buckets that you're using to catch the syrup, so the taps. And I'm not sure how to show this visually effectively. At least not with any illustration. I mean, it'd be easy to do mechanically. It'd be easy to show. So I can just do that now. What do I have for the cube symbol right now? I think I actually use a cube. Yeah. Okay, so what I'll do is just make a card that shows cubes. And then when you upgrade, you slide that card out and you get more cubes. Okay, let me just make... So I guess it'll be similar to this one. I'll just copy this one then. And so I need one going one direction, one going the other direction. We'll call this taps. And so this one, the card is sliding out this way. Yeah, I don't think that whole thing needs to be there. So let's say at first you gain 2 cubes for free. Uh, 2 cubes for free, and then what's a way to show... So I can still borrow this, I guess. Oh, yeah, I don't need a box. I'm no longer filling a box of a certain color, so I can just literally just do this. Like on the third one, just add this here. Right? And then when you upgrade, I mean, it doesn't look pretty. Then when you upgrade, this is kind of maybe like a waste of space, but as you upgrade, then you just get that, like this. Not what I meant to do. Then you just get, we'll add a fourth here. And the, interesting. And so now the third one is free, but the fourth costs a little money. And that's it. So I think that is very, very clean. I may lament losing the step to filling the evaporator. I was emotionally attached to the evaporator, I've learned. But if this just cleans up the game significantly, it's worth it. Okay, so now I need to make another copy of this and just flip everything around. It's as clean and sterile, yeah, as a thing that you might want to lick syrup off of. That's absolutely correct. Oh wait, why is this not centered? Okay, so I'll just flip this around. I'm gonna just rotate everything. Francisco, do you remember when you developed your sense of playfulness? Do you remember? Do you feel like you've always kind of been like that? Did you have like a big, like a shift in attitude and personality ever? Like for me, part of that was transitioning from like elementary school to high school. I remember like looking at myself in the mirror saying, "You know what? I think you should definitely smile more." Like that was a thing I remember saying to myself. Oh yeah, crash course. Tell me more. Why does this not look centered? I mean, in the middle. Like, why does this look? Because both of, weird, whatever. So I can put the recall. Oh, okay. Maybe this will be helpful. Oh, wait. No, this is not. This is not good. I need to just add another single cube. They don't get 7 cubes. They only get 4 cubes. It's like, isn't that funny? Like that kind of visual communication stuff. You really don't want to screw that up. So maybe college, but I want 10 cubes. You can't have 10 cubes. It's not how it works. Okay, this is looking a little better. Okay, that means something more aligned with what I want it to mean, for sure. So flip this guy around. Hmm. I also think like spiritual things and like kind of relaxing around my identity, like identity in Christ, understanding my value is more stable than it felt. Like stuff like that, I feel like has really helped me relax personality wise. Or like just be less edgy, be less volatile. So I think I can feel like it just feels lighter, you know, like it just, yeah, just easier. Like, give you an example. I don't know if you saw my windshield. So yesterday I went out to my car and found that somebody had smashed in my windshield. Thankfully, they didn't go all the way through the glass, so it's still watertight. But they smashed it in. That lighting is not great. So they beat up my little thing here. There was singing a little bit. Yes, they hit the windshield. This is what it looked like inside. And yeah, I know it's gonna cost some money. I know it's gonna take some time, but like it was really nice just to be at peace and be like, I'm not my own provider. Like I'll be good. You know, like so many cool things have lined up for me to be doing what I'm doing. You know, like financially things have been. You know, I'm not. I haven't been able to save a lot, but I've never been in need. You know, and things just happen. Like the timing is so perfect that I just know I don't have to worry. So yeah, it's an irritant to like have to go through the steps of like go to the windshield place and pay the money and then wonder, okay, where exactly is the money going to come from this time? Like, you know, to like wonder that stuff, but it's also really good. Like I don't have to worry about it. I can wonder about it, but I don't have to worry about it. And I think being able to carry myself through the world this way is much preferred to anything else. And I think it shows up in games too. That's what I wanted to. I actually wrote in the letter the email I sent out yesterday to all the to our retreat um, email list has to do with like, are you fun to play with? Um, are you fun to play games with? And a good friend of mine, he taught me a lot about what it means to have fun while you play and to be fun when you play. And and I realized it's not just a personality thing necessarily, but it's a what are you focusing on? What are the things that you're processing while you play? You know, if the result of the game influences how you feel about yourself and how you feel like other people think about you, then you're going to experience the stakes is a lot higher. You're probably going to be a lot more on edge, you know, more volatile. But if you know the result doesn't change your value, it doesn't change who you are. It might change what people think of you, but it doesn't change anything fundamentally. I think you feel the game differently, you experience the game differently, and you're able to be a lot looser during the game, having a lot more fun. So even when somebody like does this thing that just wrecks your game, hey, that was a really clever move. I never would have saw. I wouldn't have noticed that. Like that was really good what you did. You know, rather than like, how dare you? Like, why would you do that to me? Right. So we can kind of settle in a different way at the table, and I think that it's very similar to carrying ourselves, like even practicing that at the table. I think it extends into other areas, like, or there's a kind of just cool um generalized mentality or generalized posture that shows up when you play games. It shows up when, you know, you're at work and something's going wrong. It shows up when you're having conflict with a family member. I think there's an accessible type of real difference that generalizes across all these domains. And I think it has to do with faith. It has to do with understanding who we are. You know, I think that's just a really, really cool superpower that we get access to. And I wrote something about that in the email, so I'm thinking about it more these days. We can realize we are not our games. That's exactly right. So that's a good thing. Yeah. So I actually feel like I got close to doing what I wanted to do, which was just to replace these cards. Now, this is not as clear as I might need it to be, as in, oh, I wanted to add this. This is one symbol I wanted to add to these cards. Because this is saying, do this thing when you recall your stuff. Actually, this I should change this color a little bit, probably. What colors don't we have right now? Well, this green space is gone, so I can replace it like that. Kind of like this darker green. Some wisdom I heard once that winning a game doesn't matter, being the type of person that others want to keep playing games with is much more important. Yeah, oh, totally. That's it, right? And I think it's one reason why I really view what we do on Monday nights as ministry. You know, there's no money coming in for the church. There's no, you know, there are no baptisms. You know, there's nothing like that. But I think it's a really cool opportunity to sit with community members, and you know, as long as we're stable, right? As long as we have that spirit of Christ, the spirit of play, we can actually maneuver through these like kind of like tricky types of interactions and be okay. I thought about that a little bit last night with Ronson. Like, I appreciated that he had strong feelings and that he let himself experience them. He also had a moment where he kind of paused and said, you know, I know I do this. I get frustrated about these things, and I know I go through this. And for me, it was cool to like practice taking his feedback and criticism and just kind of acknowledging that that was his experience of the game. And some of those things I'll take that input and I'll make some adjustments. Other times, like I might say, oh, you know what, actually, yeah, that's actually part of the experience I'm okay with. But to go through it without seeing it as an attack was really nice. Just keeping it light, you know, chuckling a little bit when he was like really edgy. Like, it was just really interesting. And just nice. It's not an attack. You know, he's trying to help. He's going through strong feelings, and he might not be fully in control of himself, but we're getting through it together. We'll be fine. And I think being able to model that and feel that at the same time and really think that is really cool. You know, for people to get out of control around you and for you to be like still calm and okay, I think is a really cool thing. You know? Okay, so this is now unnecessary. So these are good. This is good. Oh, maybe what I do is borrow fill from here. Yeah. And I can just stick it down here. Shrink it a little bit for sure. And I don't know if I can actually, oh, I can just turn it. The idea of putting these icons here are, well, that's about when this thing happens, right? When it happens. This is about where things go. So I need to stick this in here. Actually, I should just grab the other one. Yeah. Okay. Right. Um. Hmm. Okay. So this cuts a step out of the game. It cuts. Mm, yeah, it should even things out a little bit. I mean, not. I mean, it should even the experience out a little bit, because now what you have is a constant flow of cubes, and you can adjust that volume. You can adjust that volume of cubes, which I think is good. So you still have to care about how much maple syrup you're producing and how much coming in, but um, you don't have to go through that intermediate step of the evaporator. Now, again, I think there's evaporator is like essential to making maple syrup. Well, I guess now we have they use reverse osmosis too, but so it's a thematic loss. Absolutely, I think we can put it that way. It add it to the cemetery of thematic ideas that that were involved in this game, because that the number of plots has grown significantly. Not my favorite thing, because I like to hang on to theme. Actually, it was interesting. I was talking with, or actually, I was playtesting with my friend Anne, and we're going through her game, and her game has very thematic elements to it, and that's great. But as she was teaching me, and she was kind of showing me like some of the updates and stuff, because I've been around the game for a while now. She kept giving me the thematic justification for what was going on, and at one point, I just jumped in and thought, "Yeah, that's a very sad little cemetery there, Francisco." At one point, I jumped in and said, I would just rather you go ahead and describe, like, give me the mechanical explanation. I don't really need the thematic justification, because I think that theme. I mean, it's great when the theme and mechanics line up, but I think it's too tempting to prioritize theme over mechanics. That should probably never happen. If they mesh, if they integrate perfectly, cool. But I think to prioritize theme over mechanics um, is generally a big mistake. So finding a way to make the game flow better has very much included chopping out, cutting out, egg theme and burying it. And I don't love that, but like at the same time, I was getting the feedback from players like something's not right here. There's too much friction somewhere. And okay, like fair enough. If I want this game to work, if I want people to enjoy it, I may need to sacrifice, and that sacrifice seems to be thematic ideas, mechanics that came out of thinking about how things work in the real world. Those are the main mechanics that I've had to cut. And maybe it's just the way people are primed, like gamers have been primed this way, because so many games, especially Euros, they're just very, very mechanical. They're very abstract with just something slapped on them. Like Francisco, I know your game, you've wanted to keep theme, you want it to be theme rich. And I think that's just a decision you have to make. It's almost like just a judgment call based on your audience and being confident that you have an audience that's interested in going through the tedium that theme can introduce, or going through the detailed processes that like you might have to care about because theme is important. Yeah, but to prioritize theme is to ask a lot of your players, and maybe that's, or maybe I think that's true. Maybe it's not always true, but it seems to me, at least my experience with this game so far, is the more thematic the game was, the more I asked of the players, and I think people were bouncing off of it. So it's time just to simplify further and see how it goes. But I am excited. It was tense a little bit. It was a little tense at the table, as I was kind of thinking about what to do here. But it was really great when the pressure released. We thought, oh, you know what? What if I got rid of this? What if we changed this? What if this moved around? And we went into like brainstorming mode rather than like damage control, like emotional damage control. It was very nice. Yeah, and I believe it was productive, very productive last night. So I'm excited to try the flow of the game out now. Okay, but that's it for me. Thanks for hanging out, Francisco. Hope your the rest of your crowd sale goes well. Yeah, appreciate everybody hanging out. I will see you tomorrow. It's going to be an earlier day. I'm flying to Kauai in the morning, so I would have to get up pretty early to stream. I think, but I may do it. I've been like my sleep schedule got kind of messed up, so it's been easier to want to rest in the morning. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye for now.